Fluency and accuracy are two important concepts to be explained in relation to the teaching of speaking skills of any language, especially of a second language. Traditionally, there has been a debate about the usefulness of both fluency and accuracy, and there has been a dilemma that which should be emphasized upon in a language classroom, fluency or accuracy. And we can see in literature that there have been divergent views of the scholars regarding this phenomena, and we'll unfold some of the views of the scholars in this module. However, one thing which is considered important is that both are important to determine the success of a learner in a second language. And it's very difficult to ignore either of these. Fluency may be defined as the ability to express oneself easily and articulately without much breakdown of communication. It involves the production of language in real time. As we do normally. So in our first language, that should be done in the second language without much hindrance or psychological stoppages. It generally refers to a level of proficiency, which I have already said, that when a speaker feels confident that he could communicate in a second language without any breakdown or unnecessary long pauses or hesitations, he may be considered a fluent speaker. And a fluent speaker doesn't have to stop many times during a conversation. He might make certain grammatical mistakes, but his communication would still be fluent and would convey meanings. Fluency generally is a trait which increases with the passage of time. As learner grows in the learning of a second language, his fluency increases, this is something which has been generally observed. There could be certain factors on which fluency depends. For example, we see that quick access to and practiced control of the linguistic items of the target language is very important. One should have an easy access, both physical and mental access to the resources available in the target language. Then a learner should also have the ability to decide readily and quickly that which expression would be appropriate, which linguistic form would be appropriate to convey the meaning which are there in his mind. He should also have a familiarity with the interactional norms of the target language, because without them there could be some possible communication or pragmatic failures in the overall communication process. Fluency can be measured, generally speaking, can be measured by looking into certain factors, for example, speed and flow of the speaker, then his degree of control over linguistic items, how masterfully he could use them for the right purpose, and then the language and the content of interaction, how much harmony is between them, because without that you won't be able to decide about the success of communication. Fluency-led teachers focus on producing their students quite capable of performing certain or most of the linguistic and social functions of communication. And they consider that those students who are competent in expressing themselves and conveying their meanings in social situations could be the successful learners. They focus more on meaning and the context of communication instead of grammatical structures or forms. I do not say that they completely ignore it, but they do not focus much on it. The typical classroom activities for increasing fluency could be a kind of conversation activities, public debate, group activities, and some communication games. Among them, role play could be very effective in increasing students' proficiency and fluency. Accuracy is the quality or state of being correct without errors. And An accuracy-led classroom focuses on that how masterfully students are able to, without any mistake, students are able to produce their utterances or written expressions. And teachers who believe that accuracy is the major factor or prime factor, they believe in producing students who could write or speak without any mistakes. Sometimes even they expect students producing their speech with zero mistake. Classroom activities in such classrooms which focus on accuracy could be fill in the gap exercises, grammatical exercises, error analysis, and grammar presentations. As I said earlier, there has been a debate about the usefulness of accuracy and fluency within second language classrooms, and the writers and scholars have been arguing in the support of both. The major contention has been that we should be focused in the contemporary classroom. Recently, we could see that there are more arguments about focusing on both, and with a special emphasis on the fluency, because people believe that fluency could make competent speakers. However, the overall preferences may differ according to students' needs. The distinction between accuracy and fluency is primarily a methodological distinction. The method a teacher adopts within a classroom would decide that he is focusing on fluency or accuracy. For example, in a traditional classroom, we could see that teachers focus on accuracy more, and in a contemporary communicative classrooms, we could see that teachers focus on fluency more. Another important contention in this regard is that during the process of teaching or learning, which should come first, fluency or accuracy? And again, there have been different views. Some people have been arguing that accuracy should come first, because of accuracy, the student would be able to have reliable knowledge of the language in which they aim to communicate. And when they would have reliable and correct knowledge of the language, it would become easier for them to communicate in that language. However, some people believe that fluency should be emphasized first, because fluency could generate that psychological motivation for the learners through which they could learn language easily, and later on they can learn the correct expressions as well. So at the beginning they argue that for the sake of fluency, a bit of accuracy may be compromised. However, some researchers argue that there should be a balance between both these approaches right from the beginning.